All right, this is section 1-3, big ideas, and we're going through homework problems, number 31 through 33 and 37. So 31 is about a cylinder, and it kind of looks like this. They're calling this side X centimeters, and the radius, they say, is 2 5/10 centimeters. All right, so the problem states the value of surface area of the cylinder is equal to the value of volume of the cylinder. Find the value of X, then find the surface area and the volume of the cylinder. So, step 1. First thing, what they're saying is that surface area is equal to volume. So if we talk about surface area, we're talking about really the area that wraps around. Like if I were wrapping this polyhedron with paper, how much paper would it need to cover all surfaces? And the surfaces are really made up of 2 circles and 1 rectangle. So, first thing we do is start with formulas. The formula for a circle is pi r squared. And since we have 2 of them, plus 1 rectangle, which is length times width. Next, we substitute. For r squared, we've got 2 times pi times 2 5/10 squared, plus the width we know is x. Now the centimeter, the length is actually of the rectangle, goes all the way around. So it's actually the circumference. So I'm going to say the circumference is equal to pi times diameter. That gives me the distance around. And that's really the top layer of that rectangle. So the circumference would be pi, I'm going to actually call it 2 pi r since we're only given a radius. 2 pi r, another way to write the circumference. Okay, so I do 2 pi r times x. Next, I substitute there as well. 2 pi times the radius, which is 2 5/10, times x. And I can start multiplying this out. 2 5/10 squared is 6 25/500. If I multiply those two together, I end up with 12.5 pi. Now, if I multiply 2 times 2 2/5, I end up with 5 pi x. Now I'm ready to work on the volume. Okay, so volume. First of all volume is equal to base area times the altitude. The altitude is like your height between the 2 bases. And the base of this object, we can always identify the base because they're parallel. So the base in this is a circle. So although I'm doing big base as opposed to little base is this base line right here on a triangle. Big base is base area in the cylinder. So I'm doing base area times the altitude. That is the height between the 2 bases right here. Now I'm going to substitute in formulas. The base formula for the base area is a circle, so it's going to be pi r squared. And the altitude is like our height, or we can call it x. Now I can substitute in numbers. 2 5/10 squared x. And then I've got pi and 6 25/100 x. I'm going to start it with the coefficient Okay, now I can start simplifying. Combine my like terms. Subtract 5 pi x. I'm left for 12 and 5/10 pi equals 1 and 25/100 pi x. We're trying to solve for x, so I divide both sides by 1 and 25/100 pi. Divide by 1 and 25/100 pi. These cancel out. When you divide 1 and 25/100 into 12 and 5/10, you end up with 10 equals, and what's left is our x. All right, so now we know I'm going to actually take this portion right about here. And I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to move on over here. So if I take this, this is basically, we said that this portion was surface area and this is volume. And I'm going to remind you, we had something that looked like this. This is x. And we found out that x is really 10. 10. This is 2 and 5/10. Now, if I know that x is 10, I can figure out the surface area. So 12 and 5/10 pi plus 5 pi times 10 equals 6 and 25/100 pi times 10. So this simplifies to 50 pi, which equals 62 5/10 pi. And now I can add these up, and this makes 62 and 5/10 pi. And I can leave my answer in terms of pi. 62 and 5/10 pi. You can see they're both equal. They're equivalent. If I multiplied that out, 62 and 5/10 times 3.14, I'd get 196 and 35/100. And remember, that's centimeters, square centimeters, and this is 196. Excuse me, and 35/100 cubic centimeters. That's the difference. This is volume. I'm pouring inside. The other is surface area. That's number 31. 33 is the cheetah problem. Here's what we have. Basically, it says that a cheetah is running 90 feet per second. That is running 90 feet per second is 120 feet behind an antelope that is running 60 feet per second. So let's just draw this out first. Here you've got the cheetah, and here you've got the antelope. Okay? Now, this guy's traveling at 60 miles per hour. At 90 miles per hour. Sorry, feet per second. And this one is traveling at 60 feet per second. Now, the difference is this right here. Remember what they said? The antelope is 120 feet away. So this represents just a distance. Whereas the other two are speeds. Now the thing you have to understand is that the cheetah and the antelope, all of a sudden the cheetah sees the antelope. So exactly almost at the same time they both leave. but because the cheetah is going faster, he eventually catches him. And at the same time, they stop. So what we know from this is that our time is the same. Okay, the next thing I want you to think about is distance is equal to rate times time. Now, if we take the problem and we put it into like words, we can say that the distance of the cheetah, right, the whole cheetah's distance is equal to the antelope's distance plus 120. Okay, so now I'm going to substitute in. Remember, since D is equal to RT, I can always interchange them. And since they gave me rates, I'm going to use that RT instead of the D. So rate times time equals rate times time plus 120. I now substitute in. He's going 90 feet per 1 second. And this is for T seconds. And the other one's going 60 feet per 1 second times T seconds plus 120. So I can cancel my units of seconds. And really what I'm going to be left with is 90T equals 60 T plus 120. So next, I subtract 60T. We get 30T equals 120. Divide by 30. And T is equal to 4. Now take it back to the story. And how long will it take the cheetah to catch up to the antelope? It will take the cheetah 4 feet per second. Okay, that's number 33. Okay, number 37. I'm really going to need to write this out. 2 times the greater of 2 integers is, now let's just translate that part. First of all, this is an integer problem, and it said 2 integers. The greater of 2 consecutive integers. 2 consecutive, that's important. So if it's consecutive, we're going to call the smaller one x. This is the first integer. And let's call the second one x plus 1, since they're consecutive, not consecutive even or odd. So 2 times the greater of the 2. Which one is greater? X plus 1. Is means equals. Now for the rest of this, it says is 9 less than three times the lesser integer. Okay, so I have less than means minus. I've got the 9 on this side, and I've got 3 times the lesser integer. 3 times the lesser integer. The lesser integer is x. So this would really be 3x. But because this says than, this is what I call a backward word. So it's really going to be 3x minus 9. So that's the second part. Remember, we have our is here. That's my equals. So it's really 2 times the quantity of x plus 1 is equals 3x minus 9. 9 less than 3 times the lesser integer. And now we solve it. Simplify. 2x plus 2 is 3x minus 9. I'm going to say subtract 2x. I'm left with 2 equals x minus 9. Add 9. And we get 11 is equal to x. Now I'm not done, because we said 11 is our x, so the second integer has to be 11 plus 1, which is 12. And so my answers that go in the answer column are 11 and 12. Those are the two consecutive integers. And that was the homework from, those were 3 really hard problems from the homework. That's it.